Hey guys, it's GirlGotGame. Welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore, and we are here today to do the Sweet Boy's good ending. So we got an amazing best end with him last time, so now we're going to see what his good end entails for us. I'm kind of going to be shocked if we get a proposal, to be honest. But other than that, I've got no idea what we're in for, so let's just see what's going to happen. First choice, we are going to apologize to him instead of congratulating him on his new freedom. Fritz looks at me, startled. Why are you apologizing to me? Because the reason you had to resign in the first place. He says he resigned for me, but there is also the reputation he had. The reason he is so mistrusted in the first place is because of me. If I hadn't brought Mother back 2 years ago, he would not be in this predicament. Fritz places a hand on my shoulder. You don't need to apologize, Princess. But I'm surprised when he puts a finger to my lips and leans toward me. Oh, hello. You need to stop apologizing. I told you before. Everything I did 2 years ago, I did to protect you. Everything I did of my own volition. When I was cursed, I fought for you, even when I was only a shadow of myself. And I'm proud of that fact. I cannot help but remember that other side of him when he says that. The masked personality with the snarky smile and the sardonic words. As much as Fritz likes to pretend that part of him never existed, it is impossible not to see it now. The more comfortable he becomes with me, the more I see that other side of him. Please, Princess. No more apologizing. Fine. In that case, congratulations? Fritz steps back with a smile. Thank you. Alright. It all came back to congratulations in the end anyway. Actually, I can just fast forward. Let us buy him some tea. This can only end badly. I'm really hoping this is kind of like a to-go cup. A ye olden to-go cup. We have some tea at the palace, but the flavors Fritz prepares at home are not in our kitchens. Fritz often requests servants bring tea to his room, but perhaps if I prepare a cup of his favorite tea on my own, it would be more special. Okay. So... Though I am not as familiar with the tea shops around Angielle, I am confident in my choice of tea. I buy Fritz something simple and fragrant. It does not escape me that many of the people around me notice the knight standing not too far away, watching me silently. Some people smile at me, but most divert their attention. Not out of fear, but out of some deep-rooted awkwardness. More often than not, I feel out of place in my own kingdom. The feeling has lessened over time, but no amount of interaction can make the discomfort disappear completely. Once the tea has been packaged, I take the bag in my hands and walk away out of the bakery, knights in tow. Okay, so you just bought the tea bag. Slightly disappointed, but that's fine, I guess. I meant to do fast forward. I think I spoke up last time. Tried to de-escalate things. The dagger is my first and final warning. I must escape while I can still remember the way back. She is wrong. Now that she is alone, I do have an advantage. Before the woman can sink her dagger in any further, I feint away from her knife and step on her foot. She gasps and lashes out with the dagger, but she is too slow. Her moment of hesitance gives me enough time to run. I can hear the woman calling to the man, but I ignore their voices and focus on the space directly in front of me. If the knights cannot find this place, then I will find my own way out. I turn at the bend of the alleyway and keep running. No sooner have I turned the corner than I bump into someone. Somehow, both of us manage to keep ourselves upright. I stumble back when I feel hands on my shoulders, but then pause, recognizing the face in front of me. It is you. Princess! Both of us turn at the same time to see the man and woman approaching from the end of the alleyway. They stop when they notice Fritz. Okay. Does anything else change? Okay, so otherwise that plays out pretty similarly. Except that I have a tea bag instead of a croissant. I hold up the bag with a faint smile. I thought I would buy some tea for us to share later. Fritz's expression softens when he lays his eyes on the bag. You bought tea, Princess. That's so thoughtful of you. He reaches for the bag, but I hide it behind my back before he can grab it. It was meant to be a surprise, and I still intend for it to be. You'll have to wait to see what flavor it is. Fritz laughs, and the joy seems to shake some of the stress from his shoulders. It is relieving to see him smile. I'll look forward to it then. Anyway, it looks like the day turned out to be far more eventful than any of us planned for. The smile fades from his face. I am sorry, Princess. You do not need to apologize, Fritz. You still ended up saving me in the end. Alright. Okay. I wanted to prepare some tea for Fritz tonight, but I am exhausted and it is late. Treating him is the last thing I want to do. Ouch. I sit up long enough to stuff the tea bag into one of my drawers before planting my head on one of the pillows. I'm sorry, Fritz. Aw, no tea. No tea for thee. Okay. No rain kiss shenanigans? Although I feel like we're still gonna get to the manor somehow, even if we go to the palace. I still have my duties, and I cannot shirk them. Especially now with the kingdom the way it is. Fritz smiles at me. We'll be there soon, Lucette. He lowers the lantern as we pass through the trees. I notice his eyes catch on some movement not too far from us, but it is only a couple heading into the forest hand in hand. I notice Fritz's eyes stay on them long after they have turned their backs on us. Fritz? I am taken aback by the sadness in his eyes. When he notices me looking at him, he shakes his head and continues walking. Aww. Sorry, I was just distracted. He holds me a little tighter as we make our way back to the palace. It'd be nice to go into the forest with you. Fritz drops me off at the entrance and kisses me on the hand before excusing himself. Only moments after he leaves, I run into one of the king's counselors, who speaks with me about some of the new regulations brought up in today's council meeting. After the counselor takes his leave and I am alone in the corridor, I become aware of the distant sound of thunder. Thunder? I wonder if there will be a storm. I am on my way to the dining hall when Emmeline suddenly appears from around the corner.
Oh, just in time, Lucette.
Are tonight's guests here yet?
About that.
Are they late?
Actually, they won't be able to come at all.
She points to the sky. Thunder rumbles in the distance.
They sent out a letter earlier saying that they were worried about a brewing storm. They've rescheduled dinner.
Okay, so I didn't miss out on anything the last time. So I returned for nothing.
All of us will be having dinner at the usual hour. Will Sir Fitzgerald be joining us tonight?
No, he is running an errand. Emmeline glances at the sky again and sighs.
Not the best day for errand running, is it? I hope the storm doesn't keep him.
It is not yet storming in this area. I am sure Fritz will be fine. If only I had gone with him, I would have been able to spend more time with him. What?
You have that look on your face. The one you get every time you think about Sir Fitzgerald.
I was not...
You could always have a couple of knights escort you to his home. Maybe you'll even run into him in town. Did I say something strange?
No, I am just surprised you would suggest this after what happened. Emmeline furrows her eyebrows.
But the kidnappers have been detained, haven't they? And you obviously want to see Sir Fitzgerald. I wouldn't worry. I'll tell everyone where you are, Lucette.
Emmeline is making it difficult for me to say no. She's like, you gotta go there for smooches, okay? I got stepsister tinglings. I knows it's gonna happen. After a few moments, I release a sigh and offer a small smile. Thank you, Emmeline. I turn on my heels and quickly begin to make my way toward the town. Did I even bother to take Knights with me? The rain is still only a light drizzle when I leave the palace, but I can hear thunder close by. The air is colder now and hangs on my shoulders like a cloak. It is freezing. Everywhere I look, people are fleeing indoors. Right now, walking in this frigid rain, I envy them. I ought to have taken a carriage, but I did not want to waste time waiting for the servants to bring one out in this weather. Though I have an umbrella, it is not a good shield against the rain. Okay, kind of pointless then. Clearly, I underestimated Angielle's weather. I shudder as I tromp through the streets. Though the knights behind me keep their distance, they stay closer to me than usual. No doubt they are trying to be more vigilant after what happened a few days ago. Eventually, I spot the manor. Okay, so you did take them. I step up to the front door and knock. Fritz startles when he opens the door and sees me. Lucette! He eyes the knights behind me, and after a succinct conversation and a polite dismissal, the knights leave us. Fritz leads me inside his home with a worried look on his face. I know, I'm crazy. You look freezing. Do you want a blanket? No, I am fine. I just need to soak in this heat for a short while. And your clothing? I look down at my clothes, which are drier than I had expected. It was the cold that was terrible, not the rain. They will dry quickly. All right, if you're certain. Fritz's worry eases into curiosity as I take a seat at his table. What brings you to the manor? The plans that I had were cancelled, so I thought I would come here and spend some time with you. I glance around the quiet living room. This place was silent before, and it has not changed over the years. I cannot help but feel nostalgic every time I am here. Were you busy? Even if I was, I would always make time for you. He stands with a gentle smile. I'm glad you came back. I was just thinking about how busy we've both been lately, and I wanted to spend more time with you. He pauses to consider. Tea, you say? Smash. Thank you for this tea. I'm glad you like it. I thought it would be good for the cold. I'll be back in a few minutes. He walks off to prepare another cup for himself. When he returns, my own tea has become lukewarm. I have not been able to stomach it after Fritz left the room. That's a waste of perfectly good tea. He probably needs this tea a lot more than I do. I hope it helps him relax. Don't worry, there won't be any accidents this time. He sets the teacup carefully down on the table. I notice his hand is shaking as he slides into a chair. Fritz? He begins to sip from the cup, and I am relieved when some of the tension falls away from his body. No, never mind. It is nothing. Okay. Did I make you tea? Oh no, I gotta skip. I don't know what happened before that. When did the tea thing happen? I guess I'm just gonna have to watch the cute smooches in the rain. Gosh darn it. Okay. Oh, we're still snuggled. Grand. So we go from that to this? Just no segue? Okay, fine. Thank you for the tea, Lucette. Fritz is holding a cup of the tea that I bought for him a little less than a week ago. I brewed it this morning because I finally had some time on my hands and knew Fritz would be visiting. Hooray! It's my pleasure, Fritz. It is nice to be able to do something for him, especially when he is usually the one making me tea. He sets the teacup down on my desk with a smile. Alright, so I spent the night. Made him tea the next morning. Nice. Teach me how to hide.
I'm confused.
Perhaps that wasn't the best way to phrase that. Knights are adept at not only fighting and protecting, but at evasion, are they not? They are taught to be inconspicuous. Fritz raises his eyebrows. The twinkle of amusement in his eyes makes me flush. Is that not correct?
To an extent, yes. Knights are taught to be inconspicuous in demeanor, but it's a little difficult with the shining armor. When we protect others, we have to make ourselves apparent to others so that we can drive back threats. But... well, I guess I do have some experience hiding in the shadows. But why do you want to learn about that?
If I know how to hide myself, I may be able to get out of difficult situations with more ease. Learning how to hide could help save my life. Fritz looks at me, thoughtful.
Though I agree that evasion is important, remaining inconspicuous would be difficult for you, wouldn't it?
He has a point. Because I am a princess, it would be difficult for me to hide like the knights do.
What if I taught you basic defense? That might lead into tips for evasion, and maybe, if you're still interested, hiding.
He grins when I blush. Is it so wrong to envy Fritz's ability to blend into his surroundings? It's quite amusing is all. Okay, so last time I did hide. Let's continue running. I need to put as much distance between us as possible. I continue running, this time in the opposite direction. I try to be as quiet as I possibly can, but I prioritize speed over stealth. If someone were chasing me in the forest, I would have no choice but to run and try to lose them. I turn again when I hear Fritz's footsteps quicken behind me. He's so fast! I meander my way into another pathway. My legs are burning and my heart is pounding so hard it is difficult to breathe. I glance behind me and nearly scream when I see Fritz right behind me. I do the first thing I can think of. I pull a loose branch from a tree and turn to face him. Fritz, who is nowhere near out of breath, approaches me quietly. Darn it. It's amazing. Okay, so he didn't say anything about us running. That's fine. I think we dismissed his worries last time, so we'll ask him about the future. My father brought up something interesting earlier.
Interesting.
He said you spoke to him about the future, that you were at a loss for what to do after you retire. Much to my surprise, I can see a sliver of irritation in Fritz's expression. Understandable. Is that true, Fritz? You know you are more than welcome to speak to me about anything. I come to you with my own concerns about being queen all the time.
Don't take offense, Lucette, but I don't really want to talk about it right now.
Fritz.
It's a bit of a disheartening topic, and I'd rather discuss it later.
He looks at me, his sadness melting into concern.
Would that be all right with you?
Of course. But please, Fritz, I want to help you. I hope you remember that. Fritz nods at me.
I know, and I appreciate your concern, Lucette. We'll discuss it later. I promise.
He squeezes my hand as we head out the gates and into town. You know, I really liked how he handled that. Even though he's like... Well, cat's out of the bag. But she's right, it is something we need to talk about. Just not right now. Is it okay if we wait till a better time? And then she's like, yeah, that's fine. So, good job, you two. Proud of you.
Earlier, I promised we would have this discussion.
He looks at me somber.
I actually was going to bring it up to you myself. I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier.
You don't need to apologize, Fritz. Okay, time to have a heart-to-heart. Ugh, this is sticking a knife in me. I only ever loved you. Varg was a part of you that was twisted by the Fairytale Curse. All of his emotions stemmed from you. So, even though I was thankful for some of the things Varg did, I could never have loved him. That is why I was so scared when Mithra said that Varg had the potential to take over your mind. I was scared I would lose you. Varg was only ever a fragment of who you were, a part of you that was brought to life by a curse you couldn't even control.
What if he hadn't been?
Hadn't been? Fritz pulls away with a sigh.
What if I told you that, on the inside, a lot of Varg's selfish actions were my own? Would you believe me?
Fritz always acted like Varg was a separate person that he was fighting, but... was there more to it than that? Yeah. Just a second, I feel like I got something in my throat. Hopefully that water helps. I'm just choking on my own feelings, that's what it is. Ugh.
Actually, forget I said anything, Princess.
I do not even have time enough to reconsider my words before Fritz abruptly stands and turns to face me. Ouch, that hurt on multiple levels. I am so sorry, my boy. So he's come to accept that that part of him was him and not not the curse's fault, and anyway. This fruit does things to my brain and my heart and things. This case. Alright, showing mercy, even though no one's gonna be happy about this.
You would have them only serve 15 years.
These people are still young. They may have friends and family they are supporting. Anything longer than that would only give the witches more reason to hate us. I nod as I turn back to the two ex-witches. I am being magnanimous by having your sentences, but that does not mean I have forgiven your crime. Remember this. All crimes are judged fairly, no matter who the perpetrator is. Ah, you say that, but your actions indicate otherwise. The woman stares at me in shock. The man bows his head.
1,000 blessings upon you, your highness.
The woman follows his example. Both are still shaken as they are taken from the room. Hopefully this will help ease some of the tension in the kingdom. I think you made it worse. I glance at Father, who has not said a single word since I declared my sentence. Then I look at Fritz, curious about his reaction, and am surprised when I see the fierce frown on his face.
Yes, that.
So what did you just say? Not your problem alone to solve. I look again at Fritz and startle when I see the frown on his face. His eyes are trained on the wall. Why does he look so irritated? Even Jurian is staring at him with a quizzical look on her face, but Fritz does not so much as spare her a glance. He looks as if he has closed himself off from the world. Man, boy is feeling some strong emotions right now.
Lucette.
I turn back to my father with a half-hearted smile. Yes, I know. Thank you, Father.
Lord Fitzgerald. Yes, your majesty.
Fritz's expression is stony. He still refuses to meet my eyes. He must have his reasons. For now, I will give him space.
I would speak with you on that one matter I mentioned before.
What is this about?
Lord Fitzgerald and I had something we wanted to discuss in private.
Okay. Well, it's fine, I guess. So we didn't chat to him privately at all during that. That's why I was skipping it, because I thought maybe he would talk to her and be like, "What are you doing, you dummy?" But that didn't happen. Ew. This is, this good ending's kind of rough so far. Okay, so he's seated at the window. Then just as abruptly he turns away and stares outside, his expression conflicted. Fritz? I recall the way he acted in the throne room earlier. It seemed almost as if he did not want to speak with me. Okay, did I get that confused? I thought it was in the throne room, but maybe it was in her bedroom. I received your mask. I walk over to him and cross my arms. If there is something amiss, please tell me. I cannot fix whatever it is unless you tell me what it is. Does this have something to do with the trial earlier? Suddenly, Fritz's expression is sad, melancholy.
It's not that you did anything wrong, Lucette. Only...
He sighs as he runs a hand through his hair.
Oh... I disagreed with your ruling.
Why? Was he angered by my leniency? It is as if he reads my mind. He turns to regard me slowly, his expression mellowing.
It's not like you could have known, and it's not as if my feelings had any bearing on the case. It's only... Well, what happened today reminded me so much of what happened with my mother.
Your mother? His mother was killed, I believe.
It's a bit of a long story. But suffice it to say, when the criminal who killed her was tried, they were given a lenient verdict. A flawed one.
A flawed verdict? Fritz nods a little absently before he sighs out again.
Oh. I'm sorry. I don't mean to insist that my personal feelings should have any bearing on your decisions.
No, please. I want to understand.
And I will make sure that you do. But for now, I'm sorry. I should be talking about the masquerade, shouldn't I?
Does he just not tell you about the story now? I need to skip and see. Okay, now he does. Whew, man, the the seesawing there, like, what? Okay.
If you're up to it, I'll tell you about the incident with my mother. Perhaps talking about it will help get it off my mind.
If you are willing to tell the story, then I am willing to listen. Okay, we should be back in it. Would I have let the nobleman go so easily? I think I said yes the first time. No, I would like to think that I would have known something was amiss. Fritz smiles at me gently.
You have a good heart, Lucette.
When I look at him, I cannot help but feel that there is still some uncertainty in his eyes. It's because he knows, deep down.
You're not saying that for my sake, are you? Because I'm aware of how petty a concern it is, especially when it happened so long ago.
Petty? Fritz, it is not petty. Your mother was murdered, and the criminal was never properly punished.
No, and... I've been thinking about this the whole day, but I think my father is the reason I never received any closure. He enacted revenge thinking it was the most direct form of punishment, but he ignored the law in the process, even when he was a knight meant to uphold it.
I stare at him, baffled.
I'm sorry, Lucette. Maybe I'm the foolish one for letting myself be swayed by emotions.
Emotions are not weakness.
No, but you're a far more rational person than I am. Either way, I think sharing the story with you has made me understand that I can't cling to the past forever. All we can do now is change what we do in the future, right?
Fritz does linger a lot on the past, but that is because he has lost so much. We are very similar in that regard. I believe we must learn from our parents' mistakes so that we can do better than them in the future.
Exactly.
It's quite a thing for Lucette to be like, emotions are not weakness, because she was always like, emotions are so dumb in the first game. Never let people see who you really are, because they'll just use it against you. Alright, and as much as it pains me, are these dramatics really necessary for tonight?
Lighten up, princess. You're being a killjoy.
The more he talks, the more agitated I become.
As much as I enjoy the scowl on your face, I can't help but wonder what a bona fide smile would look like under that mask of yours.
Fritz leans forward, and for just a few moments his smile softens.
Just try to play along, won't you? It will be fun, I promise.
I do not protest when he reaches for my hand and plants a kiss on the back of it. Alright, well... this time I'm gonna search for my family, because that sounds like a much more enjoyable way to spend a masquerade than dancing with the Phantom of the Opera boy. It occurs to me that I have yet to find my family, even though my first priority should have been to greet them. But as always, my thoughts are scattered where Fritz is involved.
Ah, I was wondering how long I would have you to myself.
What?
It's nothing. Now come on, let's go find Princess Emmeline and Prince Rod.
Oh, gosh. I'm being the worst I've ever been. Fritz takes my hand and begins to lead me through the crowd. This time, both of us are on the lookout for familiar faces. I believe Claude and Lance are here, but I ought to find Emmeline and Rod before I greet them. We eventually find Emmeline talking animatedly to a man whose face is both foreign and familiar. Aw, I'm so disappointed! I wanted to see everybody's masks! Drat!
If I'm being honest, it is a relief to be free of this mask for a while.
Boo! I wanted more masks! Emmeline is holding her mask, smiling sheepishly. I notice with a start that the man standing beside her, Prince Lance, is also unmasked. He laughs.
I'm used to wearing masks because my mother throws many masquerade parties, but they are a little suffocating, aren't they?
The Brigantian masks are so heavy!
Probably because of all the layered details. Though, if you don't mind my saying...
He smiles at her gently.
You look lovely in a mask, but I prefer you without one. You have beautiful features, Princess Emmeline.
Aw, you flatterer, you.
I've never seen Emmeline so red.
I glance at Fritz, curious. I've never asked Fritz if he knew that Emmeline fancied him not too long ago. Very much so not too long ago. Regardless, I am glad nothing ever came of that infatuation. Well, yeah, I guess, Lucette.
Sheesh. Hey, you two.
Rod appears from nowhere, also unmasked, looking somewhat disgruntled. Man, I wanted Rod mask. I wanted Sebi on Rod's shoulder with a mask, looking awesome. So disappointed.
Staring is rude, you know.
Yeah, you don't say, Rod.
Staring? Hardly. I think you're just being overprotective, Prince.
Rod cocks a sharp eyebrow. After a few moments, he gestures behind him at Emmeline and Lance.
I plan on going over there right now.
To do what?
To intervene, of course. Ah, the dashing but very annoying younger brother goes to interrupt his sister during one of the night's most romantic moments. Why are you talking like that?
Don't mind him, Rod. He's acting. Fritz smiles teasingly at Rod behind his mask, but says nothing else as Rod turns away with a frown. He ain't got time for this. He makes his way over to where Emmeline is standing with Lance. Fritz and I face each other.
I'm glad we didn't intervene before Prince Rod did.
I feel the same way. I watch with some amusement as Rod awkwardly places himself between Emmeline and Lance. I am still watching them when Fritz taps my shoulder. Oh, that's too funny. A drink, you say? Sure, I could use one. Alright, I forgot about this part. Sheesh. Call for help. I turn and rush back down the corridor before the knight approaches. The least helpful thing I can do is put myself in danger. I must call for help. The thought instills a great confidence in me, but as I run through the halls, that confidence diminishes. No matter how loud I shout, no one hears me in these empty corridors. A sudden desperation takes hold of me, and before I realize it, I yell out a word I have not uttered in years. Adiuva! It is like a magic trick. The minute I say the word, Fritz appears at the end of the corridor, eyes wide and panicked beneath his mask. Poor boy.
Lucette!
He easily bridges the distance between us and puts his hands protectively on my shoulders.
What's happened?
A kidnapping. A knight has kidnapped someone. Jurian is fighting his accomplice. I am breathless as I point down the hall. I no longer hear swords in the distance. I hope that this means Jurian has defeated one knight and is chasing after the other.
Lucette, you must go back to the throne room and tell his majesty.
He squeezes my shoulders tightly as if to hold me still, then rushes off down the hall, his cloak rustling behind him in the near silent night. I stand for a few moments watching him rush off. Then, after a few moments of hesitation, I turn on my heels and continue to the throne room. It is better this way. Better for me to stay out of trouble. You say that. Hopefully the Countess didn't get murderized. That would be most unfortunate. Actually, I guess I should skip, because this will be a little bit different. Okay, so it was just this. Yes, music. I just want to see what this says. Okay, masquerades canceled, throne room's cleared out. Okay, I'm good. I'm caught up. It is I who brings the news to him, and I who helps him organize the knights to deal with the threat. It is not long before Jurian returns, but I am disheartened when she arrives with only one of the captors.
Have you found the other man?
We think he might have escaped the palace. Lord Fitzgerald went after him. I clench my hands into fists to keep them from shaking. Should I have gone after them? But Fritz told me to avoid fights I did not think I could win. My upset must be apparent. Jurian addresses me next.
Don't worry, Princess. We'll find him.
I can only hope the witch is unharmed.
I would hear an explanation while we wait.
My father turns expectantly to the captured kidnapper.
What is your motive?
During the war, you let witches destroy us. And then, when we were finally able to have our revenge, for all the fairytale curses they cast and the humans they made suffer, you forgave them. Magic may have disappeared, but that doesn't change the fact that they're still criminals. My partner and I were only meting out justice.
Justice? These men are despicable. The king's disgust mirrors my own. He opens his mouth to respond, but stops when the doors to the throne room burst open and Fritz steps inside. Somewhere along the way, he seems to have doffed his masquerade outfit. The other kidnapper is dragged in behind him. I mean, that cloak probably was slowing him down.
Your Majesty, we've apprehended the other man.
He forces the man to kneel.
And the victim? She's in the infirmary, Your Majesty.
Oh no, the witch, I'm so sorry. My heart plummets at the words. Fritz inclines his head toward me, smiling softly.
They're only minor wounds.
Thank goodness.
See to it that she receives the utmost care. Extend my deepest apologies to her and tell her I will visit as soon as possible.
The knights that accompanied Fritz into the room nod before leaving to deliver the king's message. Okay, let's skip. My father turns to Fritz with a smile.
You have my thanks for going after the kidnapper, Lord Fitzgerald. I only did what anyone else would have.
Anyone else? Would I have been able to do the same thing?
I heard Lucette calling for me. She was the one who alerted me to the kidnapping.
Even after all that practice with Fritz, I was unable to do anything. I can protect myself, but I still can't protect anyone else. As if sensing my thoughts, Fritz sets a comforting hand on my shoulder.
She also had the foresight to tail Lady Jurian. It was dangerous, but had she not done so, neither of us would have known what was happening.
The king smiles.
To imagine my own daughter skulking through the corridors.
You make me sound like a criminal. It was useful stealth, wasn't it? I was glad I could do that, in the very least.
It was brave.
The king smiles. Brave, you say? I am sorry you had to spend so much of it looking for the escaped knight.
Why would you apologize for that?
I should have done something. I could have done something. Fritz crouches down beside me. Gently, he takes my hands in his own.
I told you before that running was the best way to stay safe, and you listened.
But this was different, Fritz. This wasn't just about me.
You're too hard on yourself, Lucette. Calling for help isn't weakness.
My heart plunges at the thought. Before, I had always thought reaching out to others was a weakness. That to rely on others meant I was incompetent. Even now, I cannot help but feel that there was more I could have done for the Countess, but she was found in the end, at least. Injured, but alive.
Please, Lucette. I never want you to have to put yourself in danger.
But I am the crown princess. Putting myself at risk for my people is one of my duties.
Not if it means your sacrifice won't bear fruit.
But Fritz... He kisses my hands.
The Countess is safe, and you're safe. That's all that matters.
He does not let go of my hands until I concede his point. After, I reach into my pocket and withdraw his knife, the one I did not get the opportunity to use.
You kept the knife with you.
I should have used it.
No, the knife is a last resort, Lucette. I don't want you to use it unless you absolutely need to. I'm glad you keep it on you, though.
How could I not? Alright. Let's talk about the past. Fritz. Back when you were my knight, you always protected me. I know I made mistakes in my past. I didn't trust anyone, and yet I still depended on them to protect me. Even back then, when I didn't properly thank you, you protected me. As Fritz. As Varg. You have always been there for me. I want to protect Angielle the way you protected me. I want to be just as selfless, but without being foolish. I do not believe in fruitless sacrifice, so please, do not worry about me.
That's a tall order, Lucette. I can't not worry about you.
Perhaps you could worry just a little less, then?
Is that an order?
If it needs to be, yes. His eyes twinkle with mirth when I reach forward to touch his cheek. Okay, not quite as touching as the other one, but not too bad. Okay, are we gonna run into the Countess again? Okay, so we do. I eye the Countess critically, searching for any injuries. Much to my relief, nothing stands out. I spot a bandaged wrist beneath her sleeve and a bruise near her neck, but little else. How are you feeling? Splendid. My injuries were minor. I am sorry you were injured in the first place. Please, don't apologize, Princess. If not for you, I would have been whisked away. Anyway. Okay, is that it? So, still got on her good side somehow. I'll take it. Alright, starting off with a speech, are we? And that is why, come what may, we must not allow such prejudices to stand in the way of our progress. I believe in our kingdom. I believe in our ability to accept the past and also our ability to open our arms to the future. I pause to survey the crowds that have accumulated by the stage. I see a myriad of emotions reflected on the townspeople's faces. Fear, hesitance, relief, hope. People are so much more complex than we give them credit for. They are much more than the masks they wear in public. My eyes wander to Fritz, who is standing at the edge of the stage just beside Jurian. When he notices my eyes on him, he flashes me a smile. His silent presence is enough to motivate me, no matter what might come. I turn back to the townspeople. Sometimes it is too much to shoulder the weight of our past, and sometimes the weight of the future is so daunting we turn away from it. In times like this, I beseech you, let us all open our hearts and respond to uncertainties not with malice, but with acceptance. Let us live to be better people, not for the future, but for the here and now. Every dream begins not with a leap, but with a single step forward. So let us all live for a moment in peace, so that we may cultivate a future filled with hope. Let us walk forward together, no matter our past, no matter our blood. I take a deep breath to steady my nerves. The crowd is silent, but the quiet lingering in the air is thoughtful. I glance to the other side of the stage, where the Countess from Brigantia is standing regally, her hands clasped as she looks out at the crowd. She gave her own speech before mine, a speech received with just as much respect. I hope that my words are reaching them. I focus again on the crowds. I was going to say, is this the speech that Fritz was making fun of her for in the best end? That's amazing. An older civilization once left us with these words. Carpe diem. Literally translated, seize the day. And that is the advice I now leave you with. Seize this day, and every other day after is so that we may all take one step forward together. Let us not linger in the past or cower before the future. Let us focus on the present and on the things that we may yet accomplish, and the good we can do in accepting others. And if we may accomplish such a thing, no matter how small, I believe that our kingdom will grow ever more peaceful over the years. Carpe diem. A solemn silence clings to the air as those words sink in. I have to stop myself from glancing back at Fritz. I am remembering how to say the words correctly, right? My hesitance fades away at the sounds of applause, which shatters the silence until the whole area is resonating with the sound. I slowly raise my head to look at the people gathered around me. For the first time in a very long time, I do not feel like an outsider begging for forgiveness. For nearly the first time in 2 years, I do not feel like a victim or a criminal. I feel like a leader. Thank you. I do not know if anyone can hear my words over the applause, but I say them anyway. Eventually, I step off the pedestal and make way for my father, who is set to give his own speech on this town outing. I have been accompanying him for the last 2 years on his monthly visits, but this is the first time I have felt confident in the words I offered the townspeople. Shortly after my father's speech, another burst of applause rings out, and the whole area is once again flooded with sounds. It does not die out for a long time. Father and I take turns addressing some questions of recent happenings before eventually the time for speaking is over. I step off the stage and am relieved when I feel Fritz's cool hand come down on my shoulder. He leans forward and whispers in my ear.
Are we still up for today?
I turn to look at him with a smile. Of course. Lead on, Lord Fitzgerald.
As you command, my princess.
He slides his fingers through mine before turning and walking back to the palace. I follow quietly behind him, my heart still thudding after the day's excitement. What are you two up to? Okay, forest again. After ample preparation, the two of us head to the forest. Today is not a day for training, but a day for sharing. I will be helping Fritz work on one of the many things he has on his to-do list for the future. I was surprised when he told me he wanted to share this hobby with me, but, well, I've learned just as much as he has. I glance at the book that Fritz is holding beneath his arm. Normally, I bring a fairy tale book to the graveyard so that I can read it to Delora and her daughter. But today's book is not a fairy tale. It is the book Fritz and I have been learning from for the past week. It is not long before we come to the gravesite. Neither of us is surprised to see Jurian there kneeling in front of Garland's grave. She has already placed her flowers and looks to be on her way out when she notices us.
Oh, Your Highness, Lord Fitzgerald. She bows. I hope you're not bowing to me, Jurian.
Jurian snorts. In your dreams.
Unless you've suddenly become a prince, no.
She glances between the two of us.
But who knows? That day may not be so far off.
She narrows her eyes at the book we have.
That book. I hope you've been teaching Garland, too. He was always interested in learning. I always saw him eyeing that book when you read it during your patrol breaks, Fritz. I'm sure he's been learning just as much as the princess and I. In that case, I'll leave you two to your studying. I have duties.
Jurian turns around one last time, her eyes fixed on Garland's grave. For a few moments, her eyes are melancholy and far away. She puts her fingers to her lips and then presses them to the grave.
See you later, Garland.
No, my heart. She turns to walk away, leaving Fritz and I alone in the clearing. The two of us pay our own respects. Fritz lingers longest by Garland's grave, and me... I set a flower before every gravestone, kneeling by each to offer everyone a separate greeting. I stop first at Garland's grave. Garland, Jurian is doing fine. I have no doubt that she'll be the best commander the Order has seen yet. She thinks about you often. I hope you will continue to watch over her. I pause between Delora's and Parfait's graves. Delora and Parfait. I know that today will not be the end of all of my problems for the future, but I hope that it will be the start of a new beginning. I will never stop trying to bridge the divide between darkness and light. Lastly, I stop at Mother's grave. I may not be carrying on your legacy exactly as you expected, Mother, but... I take a deep breath. I want to be a queen that you can be proud of. A queen that can end strife not through violence, but peace. When I am done, I sit a distance away from all the graves and pat the area beside me. Fritz plops himself down beside me, sitting close enough for our shoulders to touch. I do have a question. Where is Myth buried? Did they just, burn him outside the city gate? Or, where's my boy buried? Did they bury him under one of the pillars he loved so much? How do I pay my respects to Myth? I've got questions. I can't remember if I read this now, because I got so distracted. Whatever. Read it again for good measure. When I am done, I sit a distance away from all the graves and pat the area beside me. Fritz plops himself down beside me, sitting close enough for our shoulders to touch. He places the book in between us and pulls open the cover. He sets his finger on the page we bookmarked and begins to read aloud. The words are in a familiar, ancient language. Though most of them are still foreign to me, they sound like poetry coming from Fritz's mouth. As he is reading, I pause to point at one of the words, recognizing it immediately. There it is again. Carpe diem.
That's right. Carpe diem. To seize the day.
When Fritz came to me with his proposition to learn this language together not more than a week ago, he taught me that phrase first. Carpe diem. It made enough of an impression on me that I included it in my speech. 2 years ago, when Fritz was my personal knight, he taught me another word from this same language. Adiuva. The word brought us together even under the direst circumstances. And now, this language will continue to bring us together. Years ago, Fritz used to read languages to remember his mother. Now he insists on learning a language with me so that he can keep me close. He wants us to be able to share secrets in a language only we understand. I feel a soft patter on my head and glance up at the sky. Where did that come from? It's sunny. It is beginning to sprinkle.
Don't worry, I came prepared this time.
Fritz pulls out an umbrella. In no time at all, he has it set up just behind us. The both of us scoot closer to protect the book from the elements. Uh-huh. I thought you liked the rain.
I do, but it would be a shame if the book had to suffer, wouldn't it?
He smiles at me as he points to a phrase in the book.
Now, this phrase here, do you remember what it means?
I narrow my eyes at the slanted words. Amor... Winkit... Omnia? Wait, this looks familiar.
I've said it to you a couple of times.
You have?
In my dreams.
That is not very helpful. Fritz laughs when I nudge him in the shoulder. I can't read your dreams, Fritz.
I forget that I'm not as easy to read as you are.
I am not easy to read.
You are too. Just like I can tell now that you're embarrassed.
He puts his finger to the line and reads it aloud again in a soft voice.
Amor vincit omnia. Love conquers all.
I trace the words again and repeat them in my own voice. In light of everything that happened before and everything that will happen in the future, those words feel powerful. Amor vincit omnia. Is there not a more direct way to say, I love you? Fritz takes my hand and intertwines his fingers through mine.
Te amo. I love you.
He presses his forehead to mine, and for a few moments it is just the two of us in the clearing. There is no memory of the past and no weight of the future. There is nothing beyond the hopes and dreams contained in this very moment, trapped in our locked hands and in the breaths shared between us. Fritz, you talking to yourself? Oh, that's funny. Oh, that took me out of the moment slightly. Fritz. Te amo.
I feel the same way, Lucette.
He slides his lips to mine, and the two of us share a soft kiss beneath the shade of the umbrella. In this moment of quiet and tranquility, there is nothing beside Fritz. Fritz, my knight in shining armor. And someday, perhaps, my prince. Or my king. Wiggly eyebrows. But for now, there is just this moment detached from both the present and the future. There is just Fritz and I and the secret words shared between us. Carpe diem. Seize the day. What did we get? An umbrella? Nice. Umbra. Awesome. Very, very cool. All right, well, getting to that good end was rough. But the good end was sweet. It was like bittersweet, because we had grave visits, no proposal, but we got to hear her speech, which was a really good speech. But I definitely preferred the best ending. Goodness gracious me. No contest there, for sure. So yeah, there we go. That's the end of Fritz's route. No, I still have no idea what my list is. I gotta still do more soul searching, and it's probably gonna be more involved after doing Waltz's route, if I'm honest, but anyway, we are taking a brief break from this, aren't we, guys? Yes, we are. We are going back to Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, where we have a side story between Yuri and Monica. So, yeah. Time for our weekly therapy session over there, I guess. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I will see you later.